Hello YouTube, welcome to our second video of the Masters build-up, although there has been plenty of other things, including content from my fellow partner here.
Hey Lucky Sixes, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
That's right, we've been pumping out a whole bunch, a smorgasbord, a veritable feast of Ninth Age content. It's all over the place, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been going nearly a week and a half now, and it's really well into it now, and it's been phenomenal. We'll take a quick look at the schedule, and then we'll crack on today. We are here for the who's who of the hype train, I guess, and here we are with the schedule. So I mean, just how many people have we got involved in this, Matty?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's about 6 or 7 pods there, aren't there, for a kickoff? A couple of YouTube channels, you know, people doing potato print, writing it on walls of underpasses and flyovers, people doing it through the medium of dance. They're all out there, aren't they, mate?
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and that's mainly Craig. But we're not here today with Craig. Oh no, we are here with some very special guests.
We certainly are, aren't we, mate? We're
Absolutely.
joined once again by the veritable cream of the Masters players. We're joined today by 2 fantastically skilled generals. First of all, he's actually known on the circuit for playing probably more Ninth Age than everyone else put together. He's a proud member of Team England's ETC setup. He's actually technically a master because he won the Scottish Masters. He's noted for playing Demon Legions and Ogre Khans, but he's also a Kingdom of Equitaine specialist because he took them to the last ETC that there was back in 2019. Of course, we're talking about the one, the only Hugh Scarlin. Welcome to the PTG broadcast, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I mean, I can leave the call now because I got a MattyP introduction, and that was all I was really here for. So.
Absolutely. But of course, he also missed out ranked #1 player this year.
Yes, I was going to bring that up later, mate. But there you go, and also the UK's #1 ranked player, and a super chap as well. And we're delighted to have you on board. And in the co-pilot seat, then tonight with Hugh. We have got a specialist with the Greenskins, the Orcs and Goblins, also a purveyor of the Highborn Elves. This player is, in fact, the reigning fantasy master. That's right, the last time we actually played 8th, he was crowned the master, and then the end times happened. Coincidence? Possibly. We're not here to say. Another proud member of an ETC setup, but this time from Team Bulgaria. Welcome to Hristo Nikolov. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, thanks. I'm good.
Yeah, no, really good. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. I really appreciate it, and we're very lucky to have some even more Masters people, especially the #1.
We just get the best guests on, don't we?
Do.
It's just, you know, they get some real quality acts on this. I feel humbled every time I come on these things. It's all these top table gods.
I know. We can only dream
from afar. One day, buddy. One day.
But yeah, speaking of which, we are here for the Who's Who video to basically take a look and take you through all of the people at the Masters. So prepare yourselves for lots of bitching and backstabbing as of this moment. I imagine
this is without a doubt my favourite one of the year. This is what I keep coming back for year after year. So, are you guys excited to be able to talk about your fellow Masters then?
Absolutely, and it's not a discussion. We just talk. They can't respond. They can't defend themselves.
It's the best way, right?
Stage, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how little pressure you set up for us there, mate.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to rise to it, and it's some above as well, in excess of any expectations. But it's this is going to be great fun, particularly after last year. I can't wait. My personal wish, I just can't wait to see the pictures. And Kev Stonebags, I want to see what he's produced this year.
No, there are some good ones, and for you guys following at home, if you want to say which one your favourite is, then maybe we'll put that into the live stream as well. But like I said, before we crack on, do catch all of the other podcasts and YouTube channels. The links will be in the description. If you can, like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. It really helps us. It really helps all the pods and YouTube's as well. But enough about us. Let's talk about you guys. And starting with, we'll go from, well, I don't know how to phrase it. I guess least important to most important. Right?
Oh,
is
no,
probably
no,
the
mate.
best.
No, we're going to invert the seniority order. How about that?
We start with Mr. Alastair Penn. So Ali, 29, he's part of the England ETC team. Obviously included Scots Championships, Underdog Brawl, Black Country Brawl, and Cardiff. Got into the Masters last year and continued form. What do we know about Ali?
So he's fairly new, I think, compared to at least all the other guys at the Masters.
Yeah.
He's been playing Orcs and Goblins pretty much exclusively. And yeah, he's kind of almost, from my perspective, he kind of appeared out of nowhere and then suddenly won a couple of events.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially last year he won the Masters Open to get into the Masters. Although I think he was very close to qualifying on his own back anyway.
On his own back last year.
Yeah. So yeah, there we are. 15th he placed last year with Orcs and Goblins. Has sort of focused down on that, although has pitched to a few different armies as well since. How do we think he's going to do?
Well, I mean, he's certainly noted for his play of Orcs and Goblins. I think he's a bit of a wrecking ball. I think he plays quite aggressively, and we all know what the Orcs and Goblins like. If they decide to turn up, and he's got them right up in his face, he could really throw a cat amongst the pigeons here. With the best one in the world, I don't think he's one of my favourites to win the tournament, but I do think he could have a role here in taking out one of the favourites. I think that could certainly happen.
He certainly gets a decent number of UB games in now. He's in England, so he's a dark horse, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he was like last year, but I know that this year he's rivaling you. He's getting up there in terms of practice games and everything like that. So I guess you'd say he's taken it a bit more seriously, the game as a whole, in the last year or so.
He's spanked me the last couple of times we've played, I think, as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, let me revisit my. He's clearly one of the favourites.
We should say as well, sort of like looking at the list overall, no dropouts as of this moment. I know that, and everyone is fully intending on coming, which is, I think, a Masters first.
Yeah,
there was one last year, I think.
Yes.
That was a record as well.
Yeah.
So every year,
hey,
people are keener and keener on Masters.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
What excuse do you have if you're doing it from home, right?
Well, exactly.
What do you think the reason for that then is, chaps? Is that just because we've come out of lockdown and everyone's desperate, or is it just the scenes running red hot?
That's part of it. Part of it, I think, is also this year was a slight rotation of people. So some of the old guard who are a little bit fed up with the game, who weren't that excited about Masters because it'll be their 9th or whatever, have just stopped playing, so they haven't qualified. So we don't have Amit in the list here, who, if there was a clash, would probably not bother. We don't have Leggy.
Sure.
And we have a lot of new blood who are getting their second or third invite, who would not be skipping the Masters.
Yeah, and speaking of new blood, our next man is Josh Burns, who this is, as you can see from his card, his first Masters.
Yeah, well, of course, King of the Crapple and purveyor of all things Sylvan Elves. Josh, bloody good bloke, plays out of Chester. In fact, he was on as a guest last night, wasn't he, when we were recording Lucky Sixes?
Yes, he was.
So, yeah, I think, obviously, his first Masters, I think he's very excited. He's a good player. He knows what he's doing. I wonder whether Sylvans are going to be are going to match the meta. That would be my concern. But it's great to see Josh qualifying, and I wish him the best of luck, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. Should note on his thing is a winner of one of the 10 ranking tournaments this year. So well done to Josh from that point of view. Otherwise, pretty consistent sort of top third finishes at least. Which is pretty good, and I think Josh has been up and coming for a while, so this may have sort of been a case of when rather than if he reaches Masters at some point.
The Masters Open qualifier would have got him in regardless, right? Or is
Not
that
this
the case
year.
anymore?
No, that was
Oh, I
that
see.
was the previous year, but this year that was taken away. It was just the intended to be just the three championships, but obviously Wales wasn't done. So he. I guess a bit begrudgingly, from that point of view, won the tournament where it didn't automatically qualify him, whereas in
But
previous
he qualified,
years,
so that's fair. You know,
there you
karma
go.
is
Yeah,
the goal.
exactly. Perhaps it spurred him on for the rest of the year. We'll say that. You guys are part of the Lions team as well. I know that Hristo, you coach in that.
I don't think I'm officially. I don't think there is a coach this year
Okay.
officially. But yeah, Josh is one of the newcomers. So he's kind of what's happened with the competitive play, at least in the England team, because some of the old guard have rotated. Some of the old Lions have stepped into England now. So Hugh, who was who used to be one of the newer players, is now actually on the veteran half, I'd say, of the team.
Yeah.
So some of there's quite a nice thing that the Lions was a really genius setup. So some of the old Lions have now progressed to the team, and it makes a very clear progression path. If you want to get in the team, you go to Lions, you train up with the team, and get your toes into that competitive gameplay. Now, I don't think Josh has been into that environment for very long, so I would be surprised if he does particularly well at Masters.
Sure.
But he has done really well in events, so maybe.
And I say, when we're going through this, I guess one of the things to remember is that, I mean, he has won a tournament. Not many people in here you would say there is no chance of winning. So we've probably all got our favourites, and while we might say someone's like not the favourite, there is a chance anyone could win it, right? Even you, Hristo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even
absolutely. I think also one of the things to say is that of all the players here, I think Josh is probably one, along with perhaps a couple others that we'll come into, who we can be absolutely certain we know what they're going to be taking.
He's one army, and he looks like Radagast, so he has to bring this.
Yeah,
he has to, right?
Definitely.
I mean, way to fool the pack if he does bring something else, though, right?
Yeah. If he suddenly turns up with warriors or something,
yeah. No, absolutely. Looking at our next opponent, so congrats, Josh, for getting in. Jack Payne. So he was last year, and he was very, very close to winning the Masters last year. I know that in the live coverage we sort of flitted between his and Craig's game, and in the end, towards the end of that, it was who got more points sort of thing. I know that Jack historically has sort of been there or thereabouts for Masters, but hasn't been able to make it in previous years. Last year he came along, and this year he's available as well. So Jack's a pretty solid player, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, good. Likes his aggressive combat lists and knows how to play him, basically.
Yeah, and that's probably shown even more so by the armies he uses, right? Beast Hares, Warriors, and Ogres, and I mean, I know I got smashed up by his Ogres, but they're the Merc Vets and things coming at you, bro.
Well, I mean, he as Hugh says, he's always enjoyed shoving it forward, hasn't he? But last year where he was almost exclusively running Warriors, this year obviously he's had to go out with the Beast Turds, did very well up in Scotland with those, and then a couple of runs with as you say with the Ogres, but again smash lists. This is the sort of player who can get into and deflate the chances of anybody. I've got a funny feeling he beat Craig last year, didn't he, in the Masters?
I think it was. I think he may have. Yeah.
I think he went straight over the high halves. Yeah.
I know it was a horrible matchup that Craig definitely didn't want, from what I remember. So.
Yeah, definitely. But I think Jack's got a pretty good chance. He's aggressive, and like he's proved repeatedly. Aggressive players can, if they get a good run going, get some big wins. 3 or 4 big wins put him right up there.
Yeah, the Masters is 1 winner and 15 losers, so the chances of aggressive players to win it are a lot higher than defensive ones.
And do you think he's part of the England setup, or was? I'm not sure whether he still is, but he was anyway. And do you think his change, because obviously, as you say, Matt, he was Warriors predominant before that. Do you think the change in armies and looking at that is any part of the England team setup previously?
So he when he was with England, we didn't have him. We knew he was going to be on Warriors and Ogres, and that was we were sort of settling in because Tanker was running around those armies as well. Eventually, he dropped from the team because he couldn't really commit to the time to it anymore. Essentially, that's what happened. So now he's free to take whatever he wants and everything. So I'll see that where that takes him.
No, absolutely, and so I mean, it's probably going to be one of those. I know the Beast Herds one that he did in Scottish Champs was on UB as well, so I don't know whether he actually has the army for that, but that would be cool.
I think he's only just got his ogres together now, so I don't think he's got Beast Herds in his pocket.
Yeah, again, unless he's hiding that from us. But yeah, so looking at his tournament record, did pretty well. Scottish Championships finished second. Black Country Brawl, another favourite for 5. Yeah, could do it, guys.
I mean, nearly did last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he came a couple of rounds away from winning it, wasn't it? I mean, if Craig hadn't suddenly pushed at the end of his game, and if Trent hadn't got a couple of lucky pieces at the end of his game, then Jack would have won the Masters last year. Yeah, so absolutely. He's proven he's got the track record, he's got the skills.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and good luck to Jack on his way as well. Looking at our next man, and he's definitely one for the Twitter market. Hashtag Che Disaster, do we think, or Che for Master?
Well, this guy is, and if you've heard my podcast on this, then you'll know, because obviously we've interviewed Che. Che is my dark horse. He's my T-bomb for this year.
Okay.
This is a hyper-aggressive player. He'll definitely be running Warriors. It'll definitely be a push list. And whilst, as Hristo was saying a moment ago, the Masters is there to be won by an aggressive player, and you won't find them more aggressive than Che. A really nice guy, smart player, new to the scene as well, so probably won't be overawed by the opposition. And he's a great big fucking lump as well. So if he tilts the table, then probably the best thing to do is to run off.
Sure. You guys played much of Che this year?
I think I've played him, not this year though. So he did start playing before the plague. Again, it's a similar thing with him and Josh. They're very solid players.
Yeah.
They can give people a run for their money, but they haven't played that much in that competitive environment where every game is where every game is challenging.
How much is that going to play a part? Because obviously there's some people here that come to Masters every year. Some people that play on those top tables most of the year throughout anyway. How much is that experience and that sort of, I don't know whether it's pressure, but if it is, how much is it?
It used to be massive because Masters was very different to a normal event. But now the scene has shrunk to some degree. You can go to an event and have 4 out of your 5 games be against Masters players anyway.
Sure.
I do think it makes a difference. So if you're having a bad run early on in a normal event, you can try and play aggressively and smash some people who were there because they brought painted armies. Like I had that at Tech. I didn't end up anywhere exciting, but I got 20-0 in game 1.
Yeah.
And then I played a bunch of people who were there for the hobby.
Sure. Like myself.
Yeah, I didn't get to play you.
But, yeah. Which is a shame.
I have played you after a bad run before when you were still learning. I think you're one of your very first events in Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was you were on the ID, was that?
That's right. Yeah, I was testing ID for somebody else. Whereas in Masters, even after a couple of bad games, there isn't really a good road for recovery there.
Sure.
So I think that's what makes it different, especially for those smash lists, because they're the ones that get 20s or 19s when a game goes wrong. And it doesn't have to go horribly wrong. If you just draw, chances are by round 2 or 3, you could get people who you could run over. So we'll see. I think that might be a real issue for those 2 or 3 people who are brand new to it.
Sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think his first tournament was Bristol 2019, wasn't he? Because he played that tournament. He was actually on table 1 versus Craig, I think, in game 4. And then got absolutely as he said, the reality descended pretty quickly. So, he's got form. He's got the ability to again be a bit of a wrecking ball as well. Like he could maybe not win it, but I think he could stop someone good from winning it.
Is that consistency of can you do that over 5 games?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which is I feel like the breaking point. Like you always have a couple hard games in an event, but it's rarely a run of 5 really, really hard, tough, tight things.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So good luck, Che, on your way to the Masters. Next one, Ed. So I mean, one of the I guess fathers of Ninth Age, right, with his community background as well, but also been in the game a long time, quite regular to the Masters scene as well. Scotland captain. Oh, he'll hate me for saying that. And a winner of an event this year, Underdog Brawl, one of the ones on UB.
Yeah, you think your man's player this, totally committed to the cause. In his spare time, he's an intellectual property solicitor because I don't think that Ed sleeps. Captain of Scotland, on the ETC committee, on the Masters committee, head of background on the executive board. You know, if it's Ninth Age, Ed's involved. He's a real pillar of the community and a very, very solid player as well. Thinks a lot about it. It'd be interesting to see what he takes. I don't know what he's going to take, but I'll be very interested to see what he takes. I think he'll go with the greenskins, but I'm not sure.
What do you think,
guys? I think Ed's one of the ones that I have no idea, to be honest.
Sure.
He may go home. He may run to home for comfort in the Masters and go Orcs and Goblins, but equally, he's played a decent number of tournaments this year with Ogres.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he has a Kingdom of Exane Miami as well.
He has Kingdom
of
Exane.
Could go to that.
And they've certainly got some stuff in the new book. Mm-hmm. And then he's just got a DL army, and everyone knows DL are busted as hell. So, you know, he's smorgasbord of choice.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys played Ed much this year, we'll say?
I've played Ed. I think I listened to his interview today, actually, weirdly enough. He said we've played once, and I think that's true. We played once on UB and maybe once in person before.
Sure.
Ed's very good, but he also likes doing stuff on his own terms. So he takes lists that he likes, doesn't necessarily optimize for the sake of it, which is great. And I'd enjoy it if Ed won. But I do think that like last couple of % efficiency that he doesn't want to milk is probably this is the place where that might cost him a little bit.
Sure, yeah. I mean, previous Masters 10th and 14th, and do you think possibly then that mindset is, I mean, going on to the experience as well, but another part that might make the Master is actually perhaps min-maxing your list and getting the actual most efficient points out of everything?
I think it helps. It's one of the things that go in there, right? So having the tools to actually win the games.
Sure.
Yeah, the proper list building and getting it right is to take on everything and take on everything that's there and have a good chance to win it. Because some people will take what they like, as Hristo was saying, and then you'll come up against one or two lists in the field where you're just not going to have any realistic chance of beating that particular list.
Sure.
Or you need dice to be slightly on your side, you know. Between on-table skill, list, and luck, you really need all three to win the Masters.
Sure.
On that run.
I mean, again, it will be who you get as well, right? You might supposedly get a favourable. I mean, probably more in matchups than people in Masters, but yeah, no, absolutely. That's it. I mean, he's Scottish captain as well, so he's been around the competitive scene quite a long time as well. So has all the experience in the world. But yeah,
he plays a lot of tournaments as well. So you know he'll know everyone. I mean, no one's going to come as a surprise to him.
I don't. It's not a case of him not knowing how to write this. I think it's very much a conscious decision on his end to just write things that he likes, which aren't necessarily 100% maximum efficiency. So kudos to him. But he's playing at a voluntary handicap effectively.
Okay.
So needs a bit of extra luck.
Sure.
To push it through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our next man, good luck, Ed. Our next man, Mikey Newman, one that really struggles in the sun.
Well, I mean, what can we say about Mikey that hasn't already been said? I mean, well, I mean, we're pretty sure we'll be taking vampires, aren't we, for a kickoff?
It would make sense.
And a very, very good player. For my money, one of the clear favourites, one of the top three favourites.
I've been listening to a lot of the podcasts and things, and one of the things that has been cropping up, and I don't know whether you guys agree, is that the army swap round might be quite an important factor. Vampires seems to be, I don't know about you specifically, but seems to be one that people aren't overly comfortable with, and perhaps some of the lists that Mikey writes might be in his favour in that regards.
I think it depends on what he runs. Like certainly what he took to BCB was not a subtle list.
No.
That was it was very solid, but not particularly subtle. With a bit of boning up, I think most people could have a reasonable run with that list. It's Mikey probably gets more out of it than anyone else in the field. No one's going to argue that that they can compete on the same level with him on VC. But depends how much prep people want to put in, really.
Sure.
It's also a case of the reason vampires are rated quite highly competitively is because they're reliable. So in the army swap, if you're playing against Mikey and you take Mikey's list, you just take your 8 points, and even he might struggle to take it apart, right? So if you're not comfortable, vampires can definitely bunker down and take a small loss without much risk, usually anyway.
So that would
guys,
be your advice going up against Mikey, right?
I mean, if you're struggling to understand how to address the matchup, the key thing with vampires always has been don't lose your vampire.
Yeah.
So don't lose your vampire.
There we go. Stay out of arc. Keep your vampire.
How much does the army swap feature into your list selection then, lads? Will you be trying to make it more difficult for people to play your army, or is that something that you don't really factor into?
Like at the point when you submit an army, like the reason WhatsApp is full of people whining is because you can see all the problems with your own army. So the army swap just gives you, when you're swapping directly with your opponent, it gives you the opportunity to abuse the weaknesses that you know are there. You should know what the problems are. There's no list without problems.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can't really factor into it in terms of list selection, because the primary thing is that you want to you've got to have a list that can do as well as possible in the other 4 games, and like it's just one game. If it was two in a 6-round swap, maybe more significant, but certainly 1 out of 5, you can't really factor it in that much.
And what's your thinking on the army swap? Could you live without it, or would you rather it was swapped? Whilst you might be paired up in the Swiss system, you're completely randomly selecting armies, or opponent swaps. What's your preference?
I'm okay with the army swap, but I don't have a problem with it. It depends on I think people have different opinions on it depending on where they're coming in from it. Personally, like I play a lot of different armies, it doesn't really bother me.
Sure.
Like it's just a bit of a fun quirk, and I'm not overly precious about my models either, so that doesn't bother me on my side. But I can see on the other side of things from people who only take one army and who have spent a lot of time and effort in on their models, making it really nice, and I could see it being a worry from those perspectives.
I voted against it this year, to be honest, out of pure laziness and out of the slight fear that I might get a swap against Vermin Swarm and have to read what they do to actually field them.
That would be the worst
when you play
tunneling
them,
Vermin Swarm army.
When you play against them, they just tell you like, oh, I've got leadership because of like 7 rules that stack this way. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just whatever. Roll your dice. You don't panic. But if you're piloting it, you have to know why. So I didn't really want to deal with that. But I think if you're going to swapping with your opponent is the better option, because the whole point is you're showing how you can exploit the weaknesses that are in your list. So it's not your list that's broken, but you as the pilot. I don't understand this swapping with random people in the draw. That makes absolutely no sense at all.
Well, I hated it the last in real life Masters when we did that, because we did there was a random swap on the second round or whatever round it was, and I played a matchup in the I got Tim's army. Tim had previously played Tanker in a round, and then Tim got Tanker's army, and I got Tim's army.
So you played the same matchup.
Not only was he playing his own army, he also knew the matchup, and also Tanker had won in the previous round, so he knew how to win with that army as well.
It's like that weird trick when you play multiple chess grandmasters at the same time. You win half the games because you just replicate what other people are doing, and you get them playing against each other. Last year, 2 years ago, in the swap, I ended up swapping with John Turner, who I was playing. So we did an opponent swap, even though it was random, and that worked really well because we both knew what was on the table. You could also, if you're precious about your models, at least they're still being handled with somebody else, but they're right in front of you. Yeah. So no one's going to be dropping your models on the floor right in front of you.
Smash.
Or at least they'll try not to. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, I knew what the problem was. My army were, he knew his, and it was just us trying to exploit the vulnerabilities we knew were there.
So he might, Mikey might have something of an opportunity in the army swap. But as you say, if it's the opponent, then maybe his opponent will as well. Good luck, Mikey, and take lots of sun cream. Next one is our very own Hristo.
This chump.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're quiet, and we'll leave this one just to Hugh, just to completely batter you. But one of the Team Bulgaria, not captain. I keep on trying to make you captain, but not quite. Some level of involvement with the Lions, not coach.
I was coach last year.
Okay.
I'm a Lion this year. So I turned out things.
Well, there we go. So about that, and apart from last year, a pretty regular to the Masters, and I know you were very disappointed not to make it last year.
I'd been skirting on the edges of pity invites for a couple of years, kind of getting 17th to 19th sort of thing.
Sure.
And UB Masters, when there was only one dropout and a couple automatic placings.
Yeah.
I missed out by like 0.3 of a point or something.
Very, very
close.
It
was insanely close, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was it's the sort of thing like discipline checks. If you take a bunch of discipline checks, eventually you're gonna fail one, and that was me pushing my luck for a couple of years.
Fair enough.
Can see those pretty unimpressive highborn placings in 18 and 19.
but this year, I mean, 8th. That's a pretty solid year. Anything you changed, or any sort of mindset change, or do you think you just had a good year?
I played Orcs and Goblins, who are a very strong book. I mean, that's the Scottish. That's the big qualifier, one of them.
Yeah.
The list I took to From was very swingy highborn elf, so I took him to those two events that came out of lockdown back to back. I took the same list. The submission was on the same day.
Sure.
In one event, I got 4 wins and 1 loss. In one event, I got 4 losses and 1 win with exactly the same list. So I would say that last qualifying thing was pure luck, just because of the 5 wins and 5 losses happened to not be evenly split for 2-point middle finishes.
Okay, so you had your fair bit of luck, but 8th is pretty solid. So I think you're probably doing yourself a bit of a disservice there.
I think I would have qualified, or maybe been 16th again or 17th, without that bit of luck.
But
that's quite a wide range of different factions. Is would you give us any indication as to where you're taking for the Masters out of the
This is going to release after lists, isn't it? So
it is.
I'm taking dwarves.
Yeah.
So what you see on there, I played dwarves raiders. I played high elves. Then I don't tend to jump armies. I tend to pick one and stick with it for about 2-year rotation at this point. I found.
Okay.
So I swapped orcs and goblins, which was the intention was to learn them during lockdown on UB and then paint up an army, and then bumped up against painting up an army of orcs and goblins, where reality hit me that I don't like painting that much.
No.
So when events
especially when you were just going to do goblins, right?
Oh man, just so many things, so many models, so long. So I took elves, and is that a dwarf finish in there? Oh no, there's the Wormies used.
Yeah, you dwarves, Wandering Wizards.
Right, Wandering Wizards. So the event I ran,
yes,
where I allowed wizards for everybody. The whole point there was to see if magic will help dwarfs be not shit, and it did help a little bit for them to be not shit. So
no, fair play.
What lore did you go for in the end? I forgot.
I got shamanism, which I personally think is the best lore. But I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and interviews recently, and I don't think anybody else thinks that. So.
I know Craig does.
There's a lot. Sure. Yeah, I guess it's what you're looking for in Magic, isn't it? Because there's a lot of people that think maybe like the occultism and the things are better because of the damage output it could do, and so it's what you're focusing on. Magic is right, whether it's supporting and as a dwarf player, you're definitely supporting.
I mean, me qualifying this year is off the back of Magic completely. So I ran Shamanism with Orcs and Goblins, which is two of those qualifiers.
Yeah.
I ran Shamanism with Dwarfs, which is the third one. And the Highborn list I took just had Asphat Divination and all the magic buffs possible. So it was just literally zapping things with lasers for two events.
Oh, what did you find better then? Because I'd say Shamanism is more of a...
Shamanism, just hands down. Just best lore.
Yeah.
It's not a buff lore. Not a buff lore at all. Like... No, the bees do more damage than Phase Judgment against a lot of things.
Fair enough. But yeah, in terms of getting back to your Masters things, 11th and 12th, what is sort of your mindset? What is your mindset? To best that or to go further?
No, I'm actually trying to take a little bit of a break from 9th Age. But last year was the first year in 8 I didn't make Masters. The 2017, I think I came third with Dwarfs. Or maybe 2016. So my better finishes were.
So I'm sorry for not going back.
They're quite long in the past. I didn't want to quit in a year when I didn't go to ETC or do Masters.
Okay.
So I'm happy I qualified. I'm gonna turn up. I'm gonna not take the spoon, and then I'm gonna take a little break.
Okay, so when you said earlier that there's a winner and there's 15 losers, there's not really. There's a winner, there's a loser, and 15 and 14 others.
The spoon is. If you're trying to quit on a not low note, not taking the spoon is not helping. So, but I'll take anything between 15th and 2nd is fine.
Okay.
And obviously first would be amazing, but I don't think dwarfs have a chance at that realistically.
Sure. Okay.
The first couple of Masters I played, my primary motivation was to not get the spoon. I remember that much.
Sure. Okay. No, fair enough. But yeah, well done for making it, and we do wish you all the best, and I hope you can end it on a high, if that is what we do. But of course, you say end it when you're not going to end it.
The thing is, if I win it, if by the 0.001% chance I win it, I don't think I would play 9th in the UK ever again, because there's nothing better that could happen than me winning with dwarves.
In that case, I wish you all the worst luck in the world. And we'll move on immediately. To our next man, Mr. Mark Greensall, who is a fairly regular Masters as well, actually. A bit of a, I guess, undervalued player, I guess, for the most part, historically. I don't know what you guys would make of that sort of thing. I don't see him as perhaps getting the recognition as some of the others for doing pretty consistently well over the last few years.
I personally... I think he's becoming more higher up in people's attention, but I think he's. I've thought for a while that he's a very strong player on the scene, and I honestly think he probably should have been in England a year before he did.
Okay.
I thought there was a very strong chance that year, but
sure.
Yeah, I think he's getting the recognition now that he deserves. I think he's a very strong player.
I mean, certainly he's been working closely with, Dan Thomas, whom everyone knows that I have the ultimate respect for, and he speaks very, very highly of Mark. He's worked very, very hard on his game and on his list selection, and I think it's showing. I mean, he's probably one of the over the last couple of years, probably the most improved player, I would say. Although I've got to question what that profile picture is. Is he bobsleighing in a cat?
I did say we had some good ones, and I simply didn't ask. I didn't. Almost there was a part of me that didn't want the answer.
You don't need an answer with that photo.
Right. But
just enjoy it.
I assume it's what he does on his holiday days. But it's who knows, really. But yeah, he did win a tournament this year as well, as well as some weird holidays with Two Cats. What I want to say is his thing is Two Cats, One Tuna. Perhaps that's something to do with it. Who knows? Anyway, did win Froome Fright Club this year, and second in War in the North as well. So pretty good year for him anyway. And like I said, has gone to Masters before. And where do you think he's going to be aiming for this year? Could this be his year where he really steps up and
he's gonna be aiming for first because it's Masters.
You've got to be,
but he's gonna come ninth because that looks like where he comes.
It does seem to. Yeah.
I think I would normally if it. I think there's with the single army players especially. I think the points update coming out right before. Always is a bit of a bit of a tricky thing because it's not immediately apparent in specific books as to how to get the best out of it. And I know for a fact Mark's list has been hit pretty heavily.
Yeah, I guess apart from the Ancient Dragon, right? Everything else has been sort of hit.
He does play Sorin Ancients in theory.
Yeah,
those got some buffs, so he might bring those back out. But
I was just going to say, because Saurians, out of everyone, arguably had one of the best patches.
He did.
Do we think there's a chance he might dust them off a bit? He has been playing high elves for a while, a couple of years now, I think.
He's also got that thing where he likes winning on his own terms. Hence, bringing the Ancient Dragon. He doesn't really net list; he writes his own list. I think he'd be happier to take a podium with his own list than to get first at something that he had to swap to. So,
having been on teams with him and in England chats and stuff, I would agree with that statement. I think, from what I recall, having spoken to him, I think he was even considering selling the SA at this point. I don't. His intention, unless it's a
bluff.
Cunning ruse.
It's a bluff.
Yeah.
He's almost. I mean, lists have been out at this point.
Yes,
this is
it's
true.
Air,
but
it's true.
He's almost certainly going to bring the Ancient Dragon because that didn't copper nerf, and he's been using it to a reasonably effective.
Yeah.
Not reasonably effective to a very good degree this year.
Yeah, very much so.
In terms of overall results, that's a very swingy list because if the Ancient Dragon derps his like half a dozen dice, real bad, real quick. So I suspect if Mark's on form, he'd win 4 games and he will lose 1. It's whether he can manage that loss to not be terrible.
Sure. No, fair play. All the best to Two Cats. With the England setup, I think he was Lions last year. I know you said he perhaps should have been.
It was England last year. I mean, England didn't go. This is difficult, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
He was Lions the
last
year
time,
when
I
Hugh
should
went,
say.
right?
Yeah.
No, I think, Hristo, I think he was the year we didn't go, he wasn't on the squad.
Okay.
And then...
Well, the thing is, we didn't go for 2 years, right? So.
The first year of lockdown he wasn't, and the second one you were.
We won't dwell on that too much because we'll get depressed at how long it has been.
Also, the team didn't get sent. So before lockdown, Mark wasn't quite ready, and after lockdown, he's ready and on the team. So
certainly,
overall, he's where he should be.
Yeah, man. And good luck to you. More pictures, please. Jeff, another good one in the picture front. A strong. I don't know which one is Jeff. Actually, I've not ever met him.
So Jeff's like the Green Knight in real life. He doesn't play many events. He comes out, he beats the shit out of everyone, and disappears for like.
Yeah, just disappears. He's a very interesting, lovely guy. Really, really lovely guy. Played him in the first round at the Throne Fight Club. He's obviously based down in the southwest of England, and he's noted for playing in and around there exclusively. So Birmingham's obviously a bit of trip away from his stomping ground. But this is a quality act. I mean, as we were just saying, when he turns up, he does real good. I think the first time I saw him win a tournament would have been Bristol 2019, when he just won it at a canter. With the Beast Herds list. And as you can see from what he's been playing, he plays a range of different armies. He's a very smart guy. I think this guy's got a good chance. I think he's got a good chance of winning this.
Jeff is terrifying to me because he does well without prep normally. So if he puts a little bit of prep for Masters, he might actually win it.
Sure. Have you guys
I've
played him much?
I've played him a couple of times, even back when he was SA, well back in the day. He said to me when he switched over from SA to Beast Herds, that was a big swing factor for him in his games, and I think he was pretty solid with his SA, but he really found a home with Beast Herds.
Sure.
And he's a very, very solid player on that list.
Yeah, just a case of where the boot fits sort of thing. Moved over to that, and you say I remember the Art of War where he won as well, and it does show him a different. I don't know whether he's actually got all these armies. I know a couple of them were on UB, for example, the Scots and the Wandering Wizards, but it would be interesting. I can't see him not taking Beast Herds because, as you say, that's probably his most, even by himself, comfortable army. But it could take something else and surprise us all.
I would imagine the reason he's got a range is because Hathir was UB, so he was using that to try out different things with him, I guess.
Yeah.
I played him once during the UB lockdown, but I played him when he had Beast Herds, so that isn't really.
He does have an ogre army. I played him in. I play his ogre army in Throne, so it's a possibility. Depends how much he factors in, how much he wants to win it. Basically, it may be he just wants to. I know he gets a lot less games than the rest of us, so it may be he just wants to play his ogres, and he certainly played a decent game when I played him. So
fair play.
Depends how painted his stuff is as well, right? Because everyone's got to be cohesive for Jordans.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I think that's one of the big things is cohesiveness has been added.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm normally against draconian painting requirements when they start going on about highlights and freehand. But cohesive is that thing that's super irritating because when you look at a table, you want to be able to tell who's player A and who's player B at a glance.
Sure.
So I think cohesive for me trumps actual niceness of painting.
No,
I
suppose with that as well is the three colors minimum basing and cohesiveness isn't saying you have to be a good painter to get painting score. It's saying that you just have to still meet that minimum requirement, but also make it look nice, and so there's a good mix in that, I guess.
Just on that though, lads. Being that there's been the patch so recently, and obviously changes to lists and stuff, and that frankly, some people are busier than others. Does that put people at an unfair disadvantage? Would you say?
Potentially, but unlikely. So. Most people who qualify for Masters have more than one list worth of models. Most people tend to have an army that have tried to learn it and swapping bits in and out. If you're trying to bring the latest filth that the patch is broken, then yes, that stops you, but it's possibly a good thing.
Sure.
The patch coming out at this time of year, I feel, is really unpleasant from 9th Age Central because they are trying really hard to divorce themselves from ETC and be like, hey, we're not all about ETC, therefore we're not going to release the balance patch in September for some reason. And it's not just the UK that holds their Masters in January, surely. So it's messing up pretty much every country's premium event for no gain. So that's unfortunate. But if 9th Age if the headhunters realize that they should be doing their patches in September, like they have been doing, then this is.
Yeah.
It's potentially down for a TO to be brave and say, I don't care if the update's coming out. Let's play the armies that have got people here.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. I mean, it's nice to play the new list, and I like how the Masters meta gets changed up at the tournament. No one has any idea. Like, we might have a guess at armies, but no one has any idea what people's lists are going to be. But I think so I like that part of it, but I definitely think there is some argument to be said for let's not do the update.
Sure.
It's very minor. Like, in context of war games, 9th Age changes at a glacial pace.
That is true.
You're going to put one extra model ranking file somewhere or take one out. Unlikely it's going to break a whole list. It does happen occasionally, but it shouldn't be the only list you have.
You could take the list you had before and probably drop one unit, and maybe at worst, I know that is in the region of what some of the more meta lists have gone up in terms of points.
And if it's the only list you know how to play, then you deserve to be penalized, right? So
sure. And I guess with the idea that you, like you said, even though you've been playing this sort of thing, and you guys have been playing for a long time wargaming, you still perhaps even at time of recording, we'll say, don't necessarily know your final list. So it's a case of there is that little bit of instinct and stuff and that might be a fourth section of you need luck with your dice, luck with your draw, all that stuff, and that final section of what makes a master is that ability to read the army book from that early stage.
Yeah, I think knowing the balance between like the small changes or what, so you have your unit A has gone up such amount of points. Is it still the unit you want to take at that level? That's it, and that's subtle, and it's and it's largely anecdotal, to be honest, from an individual player's perspective. So it can be difficult to make the right decisions with that when you're adjusting lists.
Sure. One final thing before we move on from Jeff. Again, predominantly a base edge player, but this year has used all sorts of things. Is there a big advantage to using lots of army lists for yourself going forward?
I think the more, if you get experience playing on different armies, it definitely improves your play. So yes, I think it does give an advantage to people who have played more than one army.
I think it helps a little bit to kind of exactly like Jeff has done, use UB to dip a toe. I do think that specializing into one or two things and ironing out those tiny details that you only start noticing after 20, 30 games is handy.
Sure.
You have to strike a balance basically, because it's a learning curve. So at some point the jumps have become very small. So the returns get very small when playing additional games. You need to know when you're hitting that, slow down, and then do a swap.
Yeah.
To a certain, I mean, like if you take it from that perspective on list design, though, like the updates shapes that enough to mitigate that advantage.
I've taken this to extremes in the past, back in Fantasy, because I remember at one point I'd settled on my ETC list in something like October, and I was very active in the event, and I played the same dwarf list for like 10 months. And there was definitely a point about 6 months in where I was like, there's nothing else I'm learning from any game I'm playing with this. I've got it.
KOE 2019, definitely. Oh, God.
Yeah, so, measure your games. The reason I was saying I swap armies every 2 years is I know I play roughly 100 games a year. So about 200 games with an army for me, with the odd list swap, like changes within the army, is about enough. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is, the returns are getting too small. The improvements are there, but they're too tiny. It's not hitting that, reward button quickly enough. So.
No, great. And Jeff, I guess just keep swimming is the thing for you. Moving on, Luke Williamson. Now, this was an interesting photo. I don't know when exactly this was taken, but I like it. I'm a big fan. It's probably, in a very, very different way, as sexy as Kev's last year.
That's one word for it.
I just imagine someone seeing this photo and having not met Luke, and then meeting Luke in real life and being like, "What? No."
I really hope that happens at some point. English, but it has been ETC New Zealand. I think that was a few years ago, and obviously the gaps make it a bit hazy. But yeah, ETC New Zealand. So knows his stuff in that regard. Has been around competitiveness. Has been to the Masters before. Again, we sort of have this argument about one army versus others. Right there, as you look at it, he's done very, very well with UD and stuff. I know that he's one that goes to lots of tournaments and does take other armies, so he does have that experience, but perhaps UD is his, I don't know whether it's arguable, but most successful army he does with.
I think he's fairly specialised in UD. I've not seen him play that many different things.
He used to play a decent amount of demons, and before that, the first army I remember him was when he was, because I was on the ETC team that year, and he took VC, and he in a very short turnaround, he did very well with that list. Although that was the actors net list from that year. That was a very strong list, but he certainly picked it up very quickly and did very well. So he got a lot of respect for that. I think he knows how to write a damn good list, and out of anyone in the field, I think his list has probably changed the least, because I saw those UD updates and they didn't really get hit at all.
No. He's bringing UD, so we know that he's bringing UD.
And it's a solid list he's been running.
Yeah, and I mean even quite recently the champs got a podium at Tech as well. So a really strong year. From recollection, he's there or thereabouts around the sort of like the 15th marker most years anyway. I don't know whether some of those years he couldn't make or whatever, but yeah, really solid player. And just UD as an army, do we think they're strong enough to go five wins or 4?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's sort of going back through the sort of the time warp, isn't it, to a few years ago where everyone was just smashing it up with the Chariot Star. But you know, Luke's a bloody good player. But how do you think this is? You know, the UD is going to fit in with the potential Masters meta? Is it a blast from the past, or is it an echo from the future?
Hard. I feel like UD are quite swinging into really aggressive armies, and when we went to the bottom of the list, there was a bunch of really aggressive players. So yeah. I feel like Luke might be better suited at pushing the defensive people, breaking the castles more than fighting aggressive stuff, is my guess.
His army is mostly combat aggression, but it's a lot of threats, and you have to be up on your UD to know exactly what everything's going to do and what all the combos are. And we don't have a lot of UD players on the scene, so it will catch some people out potentially as well. I think certainly there is enough strength in that list to make a run for a podium. Yeah.
Sure. And I guess with the army swap as well, similar to Mikey perhaps, if you don't know what you're doing with that list, that could really crumble.
This is the kind of thing where it will show the people who will be going to Masters for a while and those who are quite new, because those of us who've been there for a couple of years remember Amit and his UD, and we've got the shell shock from that. Whereas the new guys will be like, oh, UD, nobody plays this, it's fine, and it's really not fine.
Sure.
There's still a lot of strength left in the book, and Luke has definitely found it, I think.
Yeah, I know. I played. It wasn't Luke's, but another UD list at Tech, and I literally haven't played him for maybe a year and a half. And Scarabs scared me afterwards. Like the swarms, just on their own.
David Bowes, did you play?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I played him as well.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, just little things and can pop up from armies like that. But yes, well done, Luke. Please bring that hairstyle to Masters. And look at everyone same manner. But good luck and moving on. What can we say about this next person? Matty, I think I'm going to let you introduce this because what a player.
Tom just burst onto the scene. Is he part of the Clues brothers out of Oxford? First time I came across him was up at a tournament in Durham, and he's just taking the scene apart, isn't he? He's lots and lots of fun outside of the tournament, as off of the table, as much fun as he is on the table as well. Very, very welcome addition to the Ninth Age clan, and a bloody good player as well. He's been remarkable all season, I think, with his warriors. Although he was playing Highborn before those guys, so he's got experience with different armies, and he's done very, very well. I mean, just look at his results. So, I mean, I think this is a bit of an outside shout here for doing something. Not necessarily winning it, but perhaps could give a few people a bit of a scare.
So this is the kind of thing where, because this is intertwined with interviews, I've also listened to Tom's interview recently, and he has said he hasn't played since Froome.
Which is about 4 or 5 months.
Which is might be kind of like actually. Me. I played Tech, but not really much outside of that.
Yeah.
And he also does build his own list and take stuff that he likes, iterates on his own time. So that's rough first time at Masters, taking your own list, not having practiced.
But as we said,
rough.
he's moved over from High Elves. He's hit Warriors. Only played them this year. Seems to have absolutely struck a good deal.
Yeah.
Perhaps he doesn't even know it, but he could be one of the favourites. It could be one of those. He could be absolutely going in with no pressure, no pressure on himself, knowing that perhaps he's had a good year with Warriors, and maybe that might be to his advantage.
It'll be another one like Ed, where I think it's very unlikely he'd get a win, but if he does, it'll be very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think let's say Warriors is a great list to take into singles. To be fair, so there's often a lot. There is a lot of strength in the book.
Yeah, and I mean, you should say, as you alluded to, Matty, like very, very strong finishes this year. Regardless of what happens at the Masters, I think he can be really proud of his tournaments this year.
Done very well.
And done very, very well. To get fourth in most regards, most Masters is very, very good.
Already impressive, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, good luck in again, another one with a solid look. It's a solid stare. Tanker.
Oh lordy.
Glorious.
So, yeah, I mean, Tanker is Tanker, right? We know he's third, and perhaps he will show no emotion at getting. This is the most emotion I've ever seen from him on that photo, and half of that is edited, But he's one of those players that I think. I don't know about you guys. I would not bet anything on what he's going to be taking.
Yeah, no idea.
Quite a big,
Yeah.
But you do have the coherency rules, right? So you could probably write off about 8 armies that he can't borrow in time, and narrow it down.
Although, having said that, is this someone that could take a 3 TP and still go all the way?
I mean, it has been possible, but I think it's hard.
Yeah,
it's a close field, right?
Very, very close. And I think things like this have affected tournaments before TP hits. So it's one of those.
It affected Masters before.
Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, looking at Tanker, one Cardiff. Most often, especially last year when we looked at this, he was getting thirds and seconds, and he's not one that often comes outside the top 10 in many tournaments. A solid player uses. I mean, with this one, I know I've only got him down as once for the Ogres, but that's because he's done very, very well with all the other list. Does use the Ogres probably predominantly this year in tournaments, especially the latter half in real life, should we say. But uses everything, knows very well. Probably the king of MSU, right? Loves a spam.
Well, that's what he's famous for. And then, of course, he went down to Cardiff with that absolute dum-dum push list and spanked everyone, didn't he? So it was he's got a lot of tools. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but it'll be really interesting to see what he takes. I think that will be one of the crux decisions is can he get an army out that is going to suit his style, that isn't going to attract the painting hits that Hristo was talking about. So
he kind of has to do well, right? He has to at least podium because he's England captain now. So if he wants to keep the respect of his team, he can't be finishing in the bottom half.
Well,
no one's going to listen to him.
And I guess we had him on last year actually, and he said historically he hasn't taken the Masters overly serious. Do you think that changes this year?
That sounds like bullshit.
You think?
Sounds like a lie. Yeah, that's.
Do you think?
Every year up to the plague. At least now when there's new people, they're excited for Masters. But there was tradition where, out of 16 people, 14 would say how they don't care, they're not trying.
Okay.
And then they would bring absolute filth that they've clearly practiced the fucking hell out of.
So it's all a front.
Lies, absolute lies.
He wants to win this then, we're saying.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
I think yeah, like I mean, I'm gonna disagree a little. I think. I mean, if he was being uber serious about Masters every year, he wouldn't have taken KOE last year.
I wasn't there last year.
For the army.
I wasn't there last year.
He did. To be fair to him,
wasn't there last
to
year.
be fair,
Yeah.
he did roll randomly for an army. So we'll give him last year as a year off, and
Fair enough.
But,
fair enough. That's a good the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, I think so. But
I can't really remember the year before.
Yeah,
so.
I like your thinking. I think perhaps it's a defence mechanism this year, as you say. England captain. I think there's more pressure, and I think he'll maybe go the way. I mean, he's one that could go the way as well. I think, in all seriousness.
Oh yeah. He's got to be one of the favourites.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, good luck, Tanker. Next one, Jake. Possibly, and I don't know how you take this, and I don't want to offend you, Hugh, but possibly one that might rival you for not only UB but practice games and preparation.
Oh sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily something I hang my hat on. So.
And speaking of hats, what a lovely one he's donning there. But yeah, no, I mean, between yourselves as well, Jake probably is known throughout the community to have been really, really good at his preparation and taking that side very seriously. Has stayed with ID all this year. I don't know about last year, might have as well. But knows that, I mean, I'm going to say inside out and backwards and all that stuff. So, other than that, ID is a solid army as well. So does he perhaps have, with all those things coming together, having a good year with them as well as the tournament results show? Could this be his year again? Because he's a previous master.
There's a lot of things in his favor at the moment. So one is that he's definitely going to take ID. He has definitely put in a lot of hours of practice. He has his own painted army with a lot of different units, so the coherency thing won't bug him.
Yep.
Working against him, two things. One of them is that ID did get a bit of a nerf in the patch. I don't know how meaningful that is, but something.
Yeah, sure.
And the other one is that he's currently stuck in Italy. Right?
Yes, so one of those things that I really, really hope it doesn't affect him. But he might have to isolate, which of course he'd do well to win it if he did.
Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't be a surprise if Jake won it.
Yeah,
at all.
I think he's definitely probably been hurt because he's, as you say, he's one of the guys who likes to get. He's like myself. He's one who tries to squeeze in as many games as he can in the short period before Masters and the update. But he's not going to have been able to do that this year.
Sure.
So,
at least his stuff is already painted, because if he missed out on painting time, that would be brutal.
Yeah, for sure. Which, I mean, probably if he does make it, and we hope you do, it probably limits him to ID. I don't know whether there was ever going to be a thought for anything else, but we'll take it. We should mention, obviously, my dates only go 3 years ago, but did win it the previous year to this with KOE, I believe. And so has that in his locker before, had a 6th and a 5th. Last year, not so well, but, I mean, is always, knows how to win a tournament.
I think that there was the year he won with KOE was just after a new book, or I seem to recall, or some sort of New Balance change where the KOE meta shifted quite a bit. It would be funny if he took the KOE again and repeated the feat.
That year, the end of the KOE, he took him at the beginning of the year. He ran them the whole year, and I'm not. That was before the crazy divination Pegasus. So I think that might have been before the big shakeup. So he used them. He used them when they were very bland and surprising, and managed to win with them consistently whole year long, and then took it to Masters.
Yeah, interestingly, that's when he was the master when I first got into wargaming and stuff in the night phase. So that was I met him at Bristol, and I think he had the was it like the, I don't want to say, he had camels and stuff for the KOE as well. That sort of Arabic, would you say?
Idea in a similar theme, I think. So.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Good luck, and I say above all, we hope you make it.
Good luck, mate. Hope you get back from Italy. I think he's gonna. I think he's a very solid pick as well. Like, you know, he knows what he's doing. His book's very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And last of the ranked people to get in. And what a year you've had, Mr. Hugh.
Yeah, it's not been bad. Pretty solid. Can't complain.
Yeah, and we're lucky enough to have the TO of the tournament that you won at as well.
Yeah.
Well done. I don't remember what you brought, but well done. Was
There
it
you go.
Demons with Druidism?
It was your only deviation from these four from demons. I think that was the warriors.
Oh, or Warriors with Druidism.
It was complete jank. I just saw the synergy between Feldrax and Druidism and thought that sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
And then spammed it, and it did quite well. Like Warriors, great push list. They can carry you sometimes in a singles tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, predominantly, I know you did that with Warriors, but predominantly a Demons play. You played them for a while. I mean, I don't. How often do you differ from Demons? You play a lot of games, so I would imagine you have the opportunity sometimes. How often do you differ?
The last 6 months or so, ever since I got on to England,
Okay. Yeah.
I've zeroed in on Demons. Yeah. So Tanker was pretty clear with me early on that he wanted me. I got into Demons during lockdown. I played him a lot, but I did have a lot of variation in lockdown. Lockdown even more than usual. I was getting in a lot of games, so it wasn't just Demons.
Sure. How much, as someone that's not part of the ETC team or even Lions or anything like that, how much does that change your mindset for list deviation when you get to an ETC team like England or Scotland? I guess it goes out to all you three, actually, or Bulgaria even.
That doesn't change anything. To do whatever you like for Bulgaria.
Fair enough.
For me, when I got onto ETC, I mean, I'm less experienced than Hristo in terms of ETC. This will be, if Italy goes ahead, fine. This will be my third. And every year I've been very conscious about zeroing in on the army as early as possible, and then perfecting the list as best as I can as early as possible. Because for the newer guys who have got more to prove, you don't want to go to ETC and then let the team down.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the advice I've had from experienced players, is basically decide what you're going to be taking as early as possible, get a list that you're happy with, and then refine it as best you can for an entire year, because you don't want to go there and let anyone down.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. And it's interesting to hear about, actually. Otherwise, though, speaking of zeroing down, a couple of seconds, a first and a fifth, that's not a bad year.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun. There was when I was getting my demon list together during lockdown, I knew roughly what I knew pretty much the whole time. The first list I wanted to take: 3 greater demons, a hope harvester, 2 demon princes on the table as my blazing glories. I thought this is shock and awe. And also, is such a great list to play. It was so much fun. I don't know how I got 2 seconds with it, because it's not a ridiculously strong army. And in terms of the demon lists that I've been running for a while and tweaking on, it's the one that probably was hit least by the update.
And considering demons finished quite highly, then that's quite a big thing.
No, it certainly avoided the worst of the nerfs. But it's just been. I still don't know if I rate the list that much, but somehow it managed to run over a couple of people at a couple of the tourneys.
Yeah, and I know that you was remind me if I'm wrong, but I think it was you versus Kevin, the final for Scottish Champs. That we managed to live stream as well.
Yeah, that was the 5,000 point one.
Yes,
that was I could not take that list for that, because the extra character points made the perfect updates to the characters for that to make it really strong. But
I remember your Maw spent the entire game fighting a Gortak out on one wing.
The intensity. But congrats, and again we did it with most people towards the top as well. But very must be proud to finish the year as first. Yeah,
it wasn't anything I really was working towards or expecting, but the last tournament at Tech was a great final run into that. Like me, Jake, and Tanker were like 3 points between us going into the last tournament, and then I think there were 2 tournament points between us in tech going into the last round as well. It was so close as to who was going to get first, and it was me and Tanker playing on in round 5 basically for the title.
Oh no, great. That's
I mean,
fantastic.
if the Masters is a little bit like the FA Cup, where you need a sort of good cup run, do you sort of see the finishing number 1 in the rankings as perhaps being an equal achievement, or perhaps even a superior achievement to the Masters, or is it all about the Masters for you then?
Like getting to the Masters used to be a primary motivator for the for my season. So that's always been a target. Last couple of years it's felt a lot easier. Like the last 3 years has been okay. Before that, it kind of felt like sometimes it was a little bit of a struggle. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't really aiming for it until like the last tournament. I didn't really think it was gonna be a thing. So it's more than anything, it's just been a really nice surprise, to be honest.
I would say that with that year and with even form and being the book that you're choosing, I would say you're one of the favourites. But it appears that you like 4th quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I want 4th in 4, to be honest.
Exactly. That's a feat that literally no one else has, and something that would be quite good. But do you think you can go the rest of the way without?
I would say, I'm going to feed directly into what Hristo says and everyone else says. I don't back myself to win it. Personally, maybe I'm being a bit too critical of my own play or anything, or possibly my own list design. I know exactly what my list is probably going to be, and I know where the weaknesses are and stuff like that. And certainly, I think there are maybe other lists I could take that might be stronger. I think sometimes Masters is you've got an eye to winning it, and you've got an eye that you don't want to play any games where you're going to get completely taken off by someone. And you don't want to play into it too bad. But you could spend a lot of time trying to write the perfect list to win the tournament and still end up driving yourself mad and still not even doing that well in the end. So I just tend to you put a bit of effort in, but at the same time, don't take it too seriously. And enjoy it. You've qualified for it, sort of thing. That would be my advice to any of the guys who've just come in for the first one.
Fair play. And we've heard obviously a lot from Hugh on himself. But Hristo, if you want a 5-minute slot now, just to completely slate him, I'm quite happy to allow that.
I think you're not giving yourself enough credit in terms of how much practice and work and iterations you've put into that demon list. So I think that you're definitely a contender. I understand that contender list is now out of 16 is about 4 or 5 people, which I think is fair, but I'd definitely put you in there. The things that are working against you it's demons, which is great, but then everyone else is prepared for demons. If you're not prepared for demons, you're going to be in big trouble. So I would be surprised if you manage to face any games where the people don't have tools to make your life miserable.
It feels like that in teams most of the
So, but you already know that, so it makes sense to lean. So in terms of kind of when I play you, like you and Jake came on the scene in a very similar time, and I find you guys have a very similar approach. So I think if there's any masters to kind of use as a comparison, it would be the one that Jake won before, where he took an army for the whole year, he learned it, he practiced it. It wasn't even necessarily the best army. As you say, that demon list has some sort, it's high risk, right? Big models, so it's like 3 dice away from going down horribly. But you know it inside and out, so you know the math. And I know you also carry your little stats booklet with you, so if you don't know the math, you got time to.
One little magic
card. I do resent you peddling the don't worry, don't prep too much live, when I know you carry your little stat stuff with you, and I've seen your dice trays and stuff. But
honestly, it's just become a crutch. It's a little stats thing. It's the table for dispel, what the percentage is for how many dice, and it just helps me speed it up. And it's the only thing on there.
I jest. It's
But it is I couldn't do dispelling without it at this point. It's a total crutch.
The prep thing is a big deal. Like from your perspective, where you've played so many games in the year, I understand why you don't feel like you need to ram in 10 games before the Masters. At this point, you know what you're taking, unless you're throwing a curveball, right? In 2 days' time, you could suddenly submit something like Empire. Like,
well, I don't know about you, Matty, but
spoiler alert, Hristo, it's not Empire.
It's not,
I don't know about you, Matty, but that was the most constructive shit chat I've ever heard.
Well, do you know what?
That was very nice.
This is what happens when we get such consummate professionals coming on, isn't it? You know?
It's well, I was technically Hugh's coach, I think, for 1 year, because I was the Lions coach when you were on it the first year, right? So I think we've had 1 or 2 constructive chats. I'm a worse player than these people, but I'm like, hey, I made 5 mistakes, but you made 1, and I'll tell you all about that 1 that you made.
Fair play. But yeah, Hugh, massive congrats from us for getting number 1.
Yes,
and,
congratulations, Hugh. Very impressive, mate. Number 1. Well done.
And good luck for the rest. Now, next one. I will build up to this because I know you're very excited about this, Matty. It's your mate. It's your his picture last year was very good. We'll see how you react to this one. It's more of a rocker sort of thing. You can open your eyes.
Oh my God! Really?
He's
actually doing the air guitar, isn't he?
This is So I heard in one of the things. I don't know whether this is true. Is he an air guitar world champion?
He was champion. Well, Axel Vicious is obviously his handle, isn't it? And that's taken from Axl Rose and Sid Vicious, 2 famous guitarists. Of course, I see Hristo's got his guitars up there, and Kev is the UK's champion air guitarist, and actually came within a hair's breadth of going to the World Championship air guitarist finals in Helsinki, Finland.
It's insane, and while this picture may be a bit less blue, should we say? I hope that is a belt, by the way. I'm not sure. It's a bit far from it, but we'll see. But yeah, so he's gone with that, and yeah. Speaking about Kev and his things, auto qualification because he won the Scottish Championships this year.
Well, apart from being the better half of the Paired Weapons podcast and one of my best mates, and also an excellent air guitarist. And by the way, if you buy him about 3 or 4 beers, he will show you. So, totally recommend it. Kev, what an improvement Kev went through during lockdown. He just went through some sort of quantum leap improvement in his game just out of nowhere. And then obviously won the Scottish Championships, which I know he was absolutely stoked about, and I was delighted for him as well. And then also qualified. He's noted for his aggressive play. He just clicked with the Beast Herds. He patented Mr. and Mrs. Mino, and I would be absolutely amazed if he's not running that list at the Masters. But something tells me that there is still a moment of potential doubt because, of course, he's also a KOE player with a beautiful KOE army that we all saw when we were at Tech. And, of course, the new book that's come out, who knows? I know he's very excited about it. Obviously, he's on the Scotland DCC team with myself and Ed. And obviously, I spend a lot of time chatting to him and I don't even know. So, I think that Kev is there to by his own stated goal to try and finish in the top half. I think that would be an amazing thing for him. But he's qualified for 2 Masters on the bounce, which frankly vastly exceeds my expectations.
And we should say, obviously,
anything's possible.
We should say, looking at his card, it says ranked 45th, and he's only gone to 3 tournaments. But he very much said right from the off when once he won the Scottish Championship, this is his time to relax now. So he's taken his. I know that the Kingdom of Equitane was more peasants, and that was before the update. So so he sort of tried a few things and took a bit of a break and stuff. Might work against him in a similar manner as we were speaking about Tom Cruise having a bit of a break and stuff. But he knows his Beast Herd lists. Played it predominantly through last year, and obviously won with it in the Scottish Championship, so should be another aggressive player, guys.
Taking a break thing is like the root of the old curse of the master. because you win the
Yeah.
Masters, you auto qualify for next year, you start messing about with things, and by September you realize you're now shit at this game. You don't remember how to play properly.
Yeah.
So it is a drawback, but yeah, we'll see.
Mm. You guys managed to play much against Kev in the past?
I don't think so.
I played him a few times in that fifth round of Scottish Champs.
Of course.
I had no answer to that list. It was very the Cyclopses and the Beast Herd Shaman. It's like I can't deal with that meme list that I took of all.
I think another thing that's to bear in mind as well is that the Kev's going to be going very much looking for to compete for best painted as well. He's just finished a really fantastic Beast Herd army. I know he's been working super hard on it. So, a shout out to that as well. That even in the midst of such a high intensity tournament like this, there's still a place for the hobby, and I think that's important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely. He's on the forum with all his stuff as well, but the Twitter, Axel Vicious, you get to see it all. And for people that aren't able to go to the Masters or the Open and see his army, definitely check him out there because it is worth a look. But yeah, good luck, Kev. We are covering the Masters in terms of live coverage. I'm hoping to get a bit of an air guitar going, maybe at some point. It's kind of a personal.
I'll insist upon it.
Personal goal of mine. So, Kev, if you're watching, I hope we see that. But otherwise, good luck and congrats for the Scottish Champs win and making the Masters.
Now, go get him, Kev. Go get him.
Now on to the last one, Mr. Craig Johnson with a fantastic. He said he had a few ideas for pictures, and he sent me about 40. So I chose this one because I feel like it really brings out his personality. But I mean, Mr. Craig Johnson. All joking aside, 3 places, 3 ways of getting through the Masters this year. He's obviously the master from last year and the previous year, we should say. But won the English Championships and qualified in 9th anyway. So, the favourite?
Can anyone stop him, Lucky Sixes? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Can anybody stop the Craig train?
The fainting penalties might stop the Craig train.
Well, that's it. If anybody is gonna take it and out of spite, I guess, it's himself. But although I have heard Jordan's promised him paint whatever he decides, so that might be a thing.
Can you imagine Jordan painting it for him and then penalising his own painted army?
I mean, I'd love it. It would be insane.
Just trolling.
Yeah. Like on purpose almost. But I mean, what else is there to say about Craig in terms of possibly one of the only 2 or 3 again? You couldn't guess what he's going to be taking. Certainly in terms of list, but maybe even army as well. He could literally take anything.
Yeah. No. I don't think he's really settled on a list all year. So there's no frame of reference even. Like I don't think he's run like the same list in any tournament across the whole year.
And that's probably epitomised the most by last Masters, right? It was on UB, so he had that opportunity, but as far as I know, he had 1 or 2 practice games, then won the bloody Masters with High Elves, which, for a High Elf player, kind of kicking the nuts, isn't it?
He took 5-1 Elves twice in a row, didn't he? Oh, no,
Vermin's the year before, and High Elves last year, so, yeah.
He told me he had 2 practice games going into last year's Masters, and he lost them both.
Oh, maybe.
I think he was playing scrub though in them, so it was.
It is good to lose your practice games to find out where your list crumbles.
Sure.
So if you only have time for 1 or 2 games, you wanna make sure you stretch yourself and see what makes your list.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, no, Craig, congrats on all the wins. Triple master opportunity. Well, I guess he will claim that he's already a triple master, but in terms of 9th age, triple master opportunity, and it would be outside of it being Craig, it would be a mean feat to get 3 in a row.
Well, I mean, you got to be honest, right? I mean, people sort, I mean, I think we'd all we had kind of a bit of sort of Schadenfreude if you didn't, but it would be a hell of an achievement, wouldn't it, to win 3 Masters on the bounce, and obviously on the back of what he's done on the Malifaux scene as well. I mean, it's and bouncing around with the armies and stuff. I mean, he's bloody good.
So very much a poster boy for transferable skill in terms of taking those lessons he's learned from all over the place and applying them to different situations.
Yeah, and obviously does Slanderite Radio as well in terms of podcast. Has done a lot for the coverage as well. Decided to do an Army's Chances little thing for the hype building. So if you want to hear Craig from the horse's mouth himself talking about all the armies and why he thinks that beast herds are crap, basically, is what he goes on about. But all the stuff about what he thinks about all the different armies' chances outside of players taking them, go and have a look at that. But Craig probably wouldn't be outside the top 3 in anybody's favourite list, would they?
I don't think so.
Cool.
I don't mind.
Yeah. I don't know. I reckon maybe. I think Mikey and Tanker and Jake, to some degree, Hugh have just as good of a shot. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess that alone, even with Craig's sort of like history and stuff, I don't think he's out and out favourite. I don't think he's not going to be far that much above the rest sort of thing. I think you've got genuinely 6 or 7 that, if you asked 100 people, would be a top favourite for someone, and most people go into the tournament have a genuine shot at winning it. So I know there's a lot of rotation from old guard to new guard and things, but I don't think that takes away from the strength of the field.
I mean, the rotation is gradual. It's just that because we've been in lockdown, it feels like it's happened quite quickly.
Yeah.
But it really hasn't. Like, even if you look at the ETC team, you really, for Team England, that is, you swap around 2 people a year normally. But now, because we've skipped 2 years, we've swapped half the team all in one go, more than half the team all in one go. So it looks crazy from the outside, but really, if you've been active as much as Hugh has, for example, I'm sure that you've noticed all this stuff as it's happened bit by bit rather than suddenly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes us to the end of the Who's Who and looking at everyone. Thank you very much, guys, for being a part of that and giving us your views. For someone like myself who isn't a part of the Masters and one of the top tables or ETC teams, it's very, 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 very interesting to hear you guys speak, and I really appreciate your time. But before we go, we do have a competition we're running in terms of all the hype and everything. We've got a few prizes for all you viewers. So if you're not able to go to the Masters or Masters Open and be a part of it, you can still be a part of it by winning some cool prizes. So check out this video and enter, and good luck if you do. Hi guys, it's me, Lucky Sixes from Proxy Table Gaming.
And me, MattyP from the Paired Weapons Podcast.
The Masters competition is back. For your chance to win a selection of these prizes, including gaming accessories, 3D print vouchers, the Breach introduction game, and commissions from the Gobbo, simply answer this question. Which army was placed at the top of the latest tier list, released in December 2021? Was it Orcs and Goblins,
Demon Legions,
or Beast Herds?
To enter, simply send your answer to the following email address: pairedweaponpodcast@gmail.com. That's the pairedweaponpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to include your name, contact details, and your answer. Check out the Masters Review Show on the Proxy Table Gaming YouTube channel shortly after the tournament itself.
Thanks to all our partners and sponsors.
And good luck.
See you later. So there you have it, lots of prizes. Do get in touch. We've already had 3 or 4, well, more than that actually by the time of this goes out, people enter, but a good plethora of prizes, Matty.
Absolutely, and why wouldn't you want to be entering the free stuff? Who doesn't like some really great free stuff? Get yourself a nice painted model from the Gobbo, get yourself some really sweet prizes. So get that entrance in. Yeah, we've been literally inundated by Tommy Tucker at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You should say as well, we've got some more prizes. I don't know whether we're going to add it on the day in terms of live coverage to keep people interested in that, or just jump it in together. So the prizes keep coming and coming. So do enter. It's completely free. And we're really happy to give some prizes out. But going back to this, guys, I want to say a huge thank you to guests Hristo and Hugh for coming along.
Yeah, bravo. Thanks, guys.
I think before we go, guys, I just want to say, obviously we do have a lot of coverage, not just from ourselves or Paired Weapons, but we do have a lot in terms of all the other podcasts and things. We are doing live streams. Hugh, you were there last year, and obviously we're continuing it on this year. Does that affect you guys in any way?
I think I've noticed for the last couple of years, definitely there's been more excitement about, even from the old guard and from the newer players, I think, in terms of build up to Masters. It's certainly made it much more interesting for me, having been in it for a while now.
Awesome.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, last year I didn't think I'd be bothered about not making the Masters until I saw the amount of coverage and stuff you guys were putting forward, and got a bit of a pang of the FOMO a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely a contributing factor to there being fewer dropouts as well, to be honest. So
maybe
I think every year you should get some hate mail from like number 17 and 18 on the on the rank.
I'm expecting that for sure. Well, yeah, and I say last year you were a bridesmaid and you're now the bride, so I mean maybe it did work. Maybe I'll just have to do that every year to keep you involved, right?
Yeah, you gotta you didn't cover the bridesmaid this year, so I think you owe somebody some coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that is a good point. We should say that there's Jack and Ryan that really just missed out, and as you say that normally there are dropouts and there aren't this year, so maybe I owe them an apology. But either way, they might still make it, and if they do, we're looking forward to them. And I think both of them are going to the Open, if not, so we'll see them there. But like I said, thank you very much, guys. I hope to interview you again on the day or whatever, and maybe it's interviewing you as the master as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, guys, and the best of luck to both of you. And thanks very much for giving us your thoughts on it. It's my favourite part of the build up. This definitely, and you've been super guests, so thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Right. And Matty, that takes us to the end of our second video and or third actually, if you can count the live draw. But
well, it's really heating up, isn't it, mate? So I mean, it's really getting exciting now. We know we know the path to the Masters. We know what the face is now. We know who's going to be taking part. We've got our favourites. We've got our dark horses. It's getting very exciting now. We're getting real close, and I'm really excited for this. It's going to be a fantastic Masters.
Yeah, very much. Like I said it last time, I'll say it again. It can't come quick enough. Only a few days to go. We're pretty much there on the live coverage. So we'll have live streams, commentary, guests, and the award ceremony and all that. Might even have a few pundits and men on the ground, like I said before. But it should be good. Tune in, guys. I'll show you a last show of the schedule. Like I said, there's plenty to get stuck in, whether you're a podcast guy or a YouTube guy, whatever land you're a part of. There's loads to get a part of. And I want to say a big thank you to all those getting involved creating that content.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see all the podcasts working together, as indeed they did last year. And we got some new ones as well this year, haven't we? Joining in, we've got the Whispers of the Vale guys, we've got Cavalier's Tale coming up as well, plus, the Olden Bowl. And it's just great to see the community coming together like this. I really think it's been good for the good for Ninth Age in the UK and Republic of Ireland.
Absolutely, and if you guys have, as viewers, have made it this far, especially in one sitting, you need to give yourself a big pat on the back, because that's a hell of a feat. But thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Please check out everybody's podcasts and channels and whatnot. It does help everybody if you like and comment and all that jazz. And that's what, at the end of the day, we all do it for.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not just spam bots.
No.
We do it.
Or Tommy Tucker, as you say.
I love you, Tommy.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thanks again to our guests that appeared on. Matty, thanks for co-hosting with me. I couldn't do it without you. We didn't quite match on the shirts. I should have got the shirts on again. You've outdressed me once again.
Well, we got the dark blue, so it's pretty good.
That's true. We're nearly there. We'll have to come up with something for the coverage itself. But until then, thanks very much, and we'll see you later.